Hey Casey, it's Sunday morning and I've been thinking about you, how we can get you through the end of the semester here. We just have a couple weeks to go. I have to put in grades no later than 2 weeks from tomorrow. So that's after graduation, but it's like 8 a.m. on that Monday. The 13th is the latest time I can put in a grade. So we need to get through a few things like test number 2, test number 3, and the final exam, and then probably the last thing would be working on this case study that we just had, was the Anwar aluminum one, but that one can go last because I think if we can do these tests in order, then maybe then you can be ready for the final as much as possible. So my last video was all about test number 2, and I'm hoping you can take that in the next couple days. I think I remember that you were going to be on campus Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and just let me know when you can come in for an hour and 15 minutes and take that exam. And in advance, I'm happy to sit down and review anything that you need reviewing, or take a call, or just let me know. So I want you to kind of take control of this process. Because I can't do it for you, but I'm trying to lay it out for you so you know what to do. But you're going to have to take the bull by the horns and get it done. So test number 3. So this will be the next one coming up, and I wanted to just show you what's available on Canvas to help you get ready for test number 3 once you're done with test number 2. So here's our Canvas view, and so test number 2 is up here, then we're getting into module number 3, week 11. So the big thing for test number 3 is basically this production report. So we had basically, there's a template, and the goal of this is in process costing, which is I'll open this up. So in process costing, we have a bunch of different departments in a company, and each department has work in process inventory moving through each department during the month. So we have raw materials come in, which are the direct materials. We have conversion costs, which are labor and overhead costs. We have those going into each department during the month. So the example I gave during class was a company that was making trail mix. So if you're a trail mix company and you have the roasting department, you put a bunch of nuts in as direct materials. You have some beginning nuts that are ready to go, then you add some during the month, and you have to figure out, okay, that's the number of nuts that I had to going into this this roasting department. Then I transferred some out, and then I have some left over. So this report helps you keep track of what your direct materials are and your conversion costs going in and out of each department during the month or the period or whatever you're keeping track of. And theoretically, a company could have many of these departments, and you're trying to keep track of the costs of each department. So the top part of this production report takes care of units. So this is the physical units. It could be pounds, it could be units, it could be whatever you're keeping track of. And the bottom, which I have coded in green, is the money. So how much those units were worth. So, and really all we're doing is tracking that. Within this, there are a couple of equations that really we have formulas for, but the production report helps us understand it. One is total equivalent units. The other is cost per equivalent unit. An equivalent unit is basically, think of it this way. So if we have, let's say that what I just highlighted is a fence. Okay, so we have a fence and we have rails, so these vertical rails, and pretend that they don't have horizontal lines in them. But we could then take, and I'm going to get rid of the yellow, and so I'm going to make this hopefully make sense a little bit more. We're just going to do outside borders. Okay. No border, then outside border. Okay, so we have this fence, and we have, it could be painted in two different ways. We could go vertically, and we could do each vertical board, and that would be the traditional way of doing it. And if we painted this board first, and we painted it that color, and then we came in and we painted this one, and we decided to paint it just a little lighter just so we can keep track of which ones we're doing, we would have 50% of this fence done. Now, if there's another, not sure what just happened there. Okay, so here's another fence, same size, and somebody decided to paint it a different way. So they decided to go, well, I like really just, I can only reach this far, so I'm going to paint the bottom, and then I'm going to change colors, and I'm going to paint this one, and then I'm going to paint this one this color, and then I'm going to go back and paint this one. And really the colors are not important, it's really with the size. So in the end, we have this top painter has painted half, and the bottom, although they've done it in a different way, they've also painted half. So even though we've touched 1, 2, 3, 4 boards and have done them 50%, it's just the same as doing 2 boards 100%. So those are called equivalent units. And so in our production costing, what we're trying to do is figure out what our equivalent units are, because some of them are completed and transferred out, like these would be completed 100% done, and some of these are only partially done. And so ending works in process, sometimes we're not all the way done with that. So most of the time in business, what we have is we have our fence, or our whatever process we're doing, and we have a full one and a partial one. So we have to say 100% of this was done, and only 70% of this one is done. So we have to say completed and transferred out were 10,000 units, and those were 100% done. So we'll say it this way. So here's our completed and transferred out units. And so when they're completed and transferred out, we have to we know that they're 100% done. So we take in and say, well, those are 100% done as to materials, and they are 100% done as to conversion costs. So you really just, all you're doing is taking this $10,000 and taking it all the way across, because they are 100% done. That's like this one right here. That's 100% done. But this one is only 70% done. So what we have to do is take our $5,000, which is our ending inventory, and we have to say it is only 0.7% done as to materials. And sometimes it's a different number for conversion costs, because maybe we've put in most of our materials, 70%, and let's just say that's 80% of materials, because it's a given. It's not how much they're done. And then it is, we'll say it's 65% done as per as pertaining to conversion costs. And these would all be given. So you're saying, I'd take my 5,000 units and I say it is 65% done. Okay, so what are our equivalent units? Well, we have 10,000 units of finished, and we have 4,000 units as pertaining to direct materials. And for conversion costs, we have 10,000 plus 3,250. So our total equivalent units are these. And then we have to figure our costs. So I have a whole video in Canvas showing this process. So this is the production report video. So this would be a good one to watch and follow along with your example or exercise 16.6. And then you can understand the process and the inputs of the production report, how to do that. What might be even better to start is to look at the slides from day 19 and day 20, and then do the production report, and then watch these videos. So basically, you're looking at this week 11, the production report videos, these videos from another person explaining this, and then the slides. Then we can look at and do as much as this homework as you want to. It always is good to practice for sure. And then just depends how you want to use your time, and the goal is to get ready for the test. So then we have the next subject on this test is relevant costing. And so relevant costing is, I think, chapter 23, and they are in our slides day 21 and day 22. And I do have a video, which is the relevant costing video that helps think through this. And then we have basically you have 4 days of slides. The thing about test number 3 is that you can create a notes sheet that you can use for the exam. 1 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, both sides, and you can put in whatever you want. And what I would do is you can go through the study guide, and you can basically create this production report that I had just showed you. You can create one of those and make notes of how things are done, because on the exam you have to do a production report given the information that I gave. So it's really not a secret of what you need to do, it's just being able to do it. And so that would be one thing to put on. And then the other thing would be put on would be, let's see if I can find our slides. There's a bunch of formulas in our day 21 slides, I think, which go through this whole section. And the whole section has to do with finding break-even points. So this is CVP, cost volume production analysis, cost volume profit analysis. And so we're finding the contribution margin, which is so the contribution margin is, and I'm going to go back to the slides here. Here's the formula: selling price per unit minus total variable cost per unit. And the idea here is let me see if I can open it. Let's see. Okay, Here's contribution margin. So say you are running Shivers, the ice cream place. And if we sell ice cream cones for $5 each, and the variable costs on those ice cream cones, which would be labor and ice cream and cones and part of overhead, the variable part of overhead. So what changes with the production of ice cream cones, say that all that cost you $3. It means that the contribution margin is $2. $5 minus $3 equals $2. And what that means is that each sale is contributing $2 towards the overhead fixed costs. So this is towards fixed costs and profits. So that's contribution margin. And that gives you the number. And then as a percentage, you can just say, once you find your contribution margin, you put your $2 over your $5, and you say that 40% of the cost of each ice cream cone sold is contributing towards fixed costs and overhead costs. And where that comes in to help is we can find our break-even point. So our break-even point in terms of units, we use our contribution margin per unit. We basically divide our fixed costs divided by our contribution margin per unit. So say with Shivers, we could say that our fixed costs are $30,000 a month divided by our $2 per ice cream cone. And we would say that we have to sell 60,000 ice cream cones in order to break even. And then with our fixed costs over contribution margin ratio, we would say that our $30,000 divided by our 40% equals $75,000. And it means that we have to have $75,000 in sales in order to break even each month. All right. So that's just a start in terms of where we are, but we'll also have to be able to draw a cost volume profit chart, which means that this is on the exam. It's basically, here's some information. I'm going to give you some information, and you'll have to then go in and compute the contribution margin, the break-even point with formulas. That's why you're going to write them down on your note sheet. And then given that, you'll know what the break-even point in dollars and the break-even point in units, and then you'll know the fixed costs, and then you'll just have to do some math in terms of putting these lines together. But our sales line starts at the 0 point, because if you don't make any sales, you don't have any. You have sold 0 units and you have made $0. So you start here, and what's best practice is to then take once you kind of figure out by formula what your break-even point is, in order to make this work, you can just say you pick a unit, like 10,000 units. You take 10,000 times your sales cost. In this case, it would be for ice cream cones. We would take 10,000 ice cream cones times $5 each, and we'd put 10,000 on the bottom, and we'd figure out there's 50,000, and we put a dot here, and we'd connect that 0 point through the dot, and that would be our sales line, and you mark it as sales. Then you take your variable costs, your $2 per unit times 10,000, which is 20,000, but then you have to add the fixed costs, which is 50,000. So you take a point of 50,000 right here, and you have to add then your so you have your 20,000 of fixed costs plus your $30,000, and you connect those 2 points, and that's your total cost, and where they intersect is your break-even point. So that's another thing that you need to be able to do. There's all these slides here. So what I would like you to do is go through, once you're ready to tackle test number 3, I want you to go through these slides, go through the videos, find the review, which is on. So if you go to test number 3 here, it gives you all of the topics. So these are all of the topics that you would need to know. And so what I want you to go through is start, as you are learning things, why don't you create your note sheet from the very beginning with the end in mind, and then you can we can have a call or meet in person and talk about what you need to know, what questions you have, and then you can be ready to take that test. So I know this is a lot, and not being in class and not having the full every day of homework and all that stuff is super difficult. But we're doing the best we can with, kind of being part-time. So let me know what I can do to help, but it's going to take your proactivity to get test number 2 and test number 3 done before you take the final. And we have to get it all done within 2 weeks. So, all right, keep in touch with me. Let me know what I can do to help. And I will hopefully see you in the next couple days to take test number 2. And then hopefully soon after we can get test number 3 done. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Casey.